Hi. How is everyone doing today? How are my independent pretty girlies in the group? And everyone else, how are you doing? I'm glad that you're here to join us. Hit the subscribe button and hit the like button as well for the YouTube algorithm, and go ahead and subscribe, join our group, especially if you're an independent pretty girly. We'd love to have you. And our group just keeps getting bigger and bigger, so I'm so excited, so thankful and excited about that. But yes, so today I want us to take a look at Will Smith and Jada Pinkett's relationship, especially because Jada has been going crazy marketing wise lately, and she just will not leave the public alone. And Jada, I gotta tell you, like, Jada has to be one of the most hated or disliked person, like, in the US at least. I can't really speak for any other place, but it's kind of crazy to see how much she's disliked by so many people. So we're gonna go through this snippet of an interview. Maybe we'll look at some other things, because there's this interview and then the one right below it that says me and Will are not together. You can see the red bar. I watched that whole thing. I know, I was surprised too, but it's because DOAC he's such a good interviewer. Stefan, is it Stefan or Steven? But he's such a good interviewer, and I kept seeing her pop up in different areas interviewing with different people, which I'm willing to bet that these are interviews that she did several months ago, because the way that these interviews are coming out on the media, it looks, feels, and seems very strategic. So I'm sure that she probably did these interviews forever ago, and they just had to plan, and she wanted a plan, and she went ahead with planning how to release it marketing wise. But okay, so let's dive in and see what's going on here. You guys keep in mind, if you haven't watched my video on marriage and what marriage really is, go ahead and watch that video, because that might help a lot as well when it comes to us dissecting what the heck is going on here. Okay.
Will Smith is speaking out about his 7-year separation from Jada Pinkett Smith and her bombshell memoir, Worthy.
Jada and I have, we weathered some storms.
He's always willing to suffer. And now, in this new passage of our relationship, he's learning how to suffer differently.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Will Smith has finally broken his silence on Jada's new book, and although a lot of people were screaming at Will to file for divorce, it turns out Will won't divorce Jada because they don't have a prenup. So there's been a lot of speculation lately about the possible reason why Jada is using every opportunity to embarrass Will in public, and fans are baffled as to why Will simply doesn't file for divorce.
Yeah, so in my marriage video, the video that I made, what marriage truly means, or what truly is marriage, I have a few videos out talking about the topic of marriage, but the most recent one that I made, I mentioned the fact that it's probably because there's no prenup there. And also it would be, from my estimation, it would just be a colossal mess if these two were to try to get divorced. I mean, it would be a mess, honestly, because though these two together, they are a whole corporation. It's a whole business. And so it's like trying to, split a very big business in two, right? It would get very complicated and very expensive very quickly. So just from that standpoint alone, I agree with them as far as, like, perhaps you might want to think once or twice as far as not getting that divorce. especially because I kind of figured Will didn't have a prenup. I said that in my video before watching this. I just watched this today. Um, I said it because it's one of the only it's one of the only logical explanations, especially when we're talking about people that are this rich, that that he probably doesn't have a prenup. And I'm willing to bet that's playing a really, really huge part in this whole fiasco, right? So let's continue to watch.
Well, it turns out money could be the reason, because Will and Jada don't have a prenup. And fans are speculating that everything that Jada has been doing lately is part of her plan to push Will to file for divorce papers. Because if he's the one who initiates the divorce, he'd have to give her half of his money. Jada hasn't had an acting career in years. Earlier this year, her talk show, Red Table Talk, was canceled. And she's now got a new book coming out, which seems like nothing but a cash grab. Anyway, Will has now broken his silence on Jada's new memoir. And based on what he said, it sounds like it all really does come down to money.
So, I don't know. I don't know if that's the way it works. I don't know if it would be that simple when it comes to if Will were to file for divorce, then he would have to give her half of his money. Because he's the one that filed. I don't know that it's that simple. I think that, with all the money they have, it would be a lot more complex than that. Because they would have all these lawyers and law teams involved. Will could say, but you cheated, you were unfaithful. They would go back and forth, and only God knows if that divorce would ever end. Honestly, it would probably take years. And in the meantime, I'm not sure what Jada would do financially, because it would probably take a really long time, but I don't see Jada as being someone that's stupid. So I know for a fact she would be completely fine. I mean, if she hasn't been saving her money this whole time, because Will, I would be surprised if he's not the one that pays for everything, pays for all the bills, pays for everything that they need, everything that the kids need. Like, I would be surprised if this were a Gabrielle Union type of relationship. That's a whole nother thing. Surreal. Like, she has to be the dumbest person on the planet. If anything, honestly, I dislike, not dislike, but I think Gabrielle Union, if I'm saying her name correctly, is dumber than even Jada, but yeah, I don't peg her for a Gabrielle Union at all, not even close. So I know for a fact that her savings are up and fine. And I know for a fact, just based on her personality and her style, she already has in mind what she would do. She knows what she would do if this guy were to file for divorce. She's gonna go, I've heard in a few of her interviews, and I have a feeling she would go get herself like something in the country somewhere with a lot of land, a lot of air and space, and she would just live there and chill there and relax there. She would be completely unbothered. And keep in mind, you guys, that she wouldn't have to pay all these astronomical bills to get that, right? It's just a matter of getting land and all this stuff, and she's set. And so she doesn't peg me as someone that would continue to live that super duper expensive, luxurious lifestyle, especially at her age. I feel like she would choose to go, relax somewhere, and then she would pop up on social media, maybe regularly, maybe every so often, to make more money, and with all her little tricks and stuff. She would stay and try to stay on social media, maybe start new projects. But as far as living expenses, I think that's probably how she would do it. And she would probably fly in and out, maybe between where she actually lives in LA. So I don't think that she would struggle financially if Will were to file for divorce, or if she were to file for divorce. I just don't think that she would struggle. It doesn't make sense to me that you would be married to someone this rich for that long and struggle just because he leaves. There's no way, unless you're just that terrible with money. There's no way. There's no way. Now, or unless you're Gabrielle Union. And you know, if you're her, then you're just a loser, and I don't even know what you're doing. But she does not peg me as that type. Mm-mm.
You know why I never got divorced?
It's cheaper to keep me.
No.
So Jada Pinkett Smith is continuing with the promo tour for her upcoming memoir, Worthy, and every day she makes it more clear that she absolutely can't stand her husband, Will. During a recent interview with Hoda Kotb, Jada dropped a bombshell, revealing that she and Will have been living separate lives since 2016. And she also said that when Will slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars last year, she thought it was a skit because she didn't expect Will to defend someone who technically isn't his wife. I am unclear on the reason why Will is so upset, Jada said. We have been living separate lives, and we're there as a family, not.
Was that a real slap, y'all? Were y'all able to see that? Watching it again, I don't know if that was a real slap. Let me see.
And based on what he said, it sounds like it all really does come down to money.
You know why I never got divorced?
It's cheaper to keep me.
No.
So Jada Pinkett Smith is continuing with the promo tour for her upcoming memoir, Worthy, and every day she makes it more clear that she absolutely can't stand her husband, Will. During a recent interview with Hoda Kotb, Jada dropped a bombshell, revealing that she and Will have been living separate lives since 2016. And she also said that when Will slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars last year, she thought it was a skit because she didn't expect Will to defend someone who technically isn't his wife. I am unclear on the reason why Will is so upset, Jada said. We have been living separate lives, and we're there as a family, not as husband and wife. But when I hear Will yell wife in the chaos of the moment, an internal shift of, oh shit, I am his wife. As for the reason why she simply didn't file for divorce, Jada told.
So, the reason I was confused, because in a way, that kind of looked like maybe that wasn't a real slap, but maybe it was. I don't know, because I don't put it past these people, these rich people, to pull a stunt like this off, to do something like this and fool the public and the mass media. I don't put it past them. You know, we all know that the Grammy, is it the Grammy Awards where this happened? Like, no one watches that stuff. That stuff is super boring. No one cares. The general public does not care about that. And they were struggling with views. And I know that one of the speculations that was going around when that slap happened is that, you know, they planned it. They planned it all. But I don't know, maybe not. Who knows? But like, if it's true, then you know, what it looks like to me is they're riding on the momentum of that slap that happened, and I think they're doing it together. I honestly think that they are doing this cash grab together, not necessarily together in a form of like Will has anything to gain from it, but definitely Jada is trying to grab as much cash as she can. I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up divorcing him in a few years after maybe saving as much as she wants to save or whatever. But you know, I don't see Will filing for divorce either, because I don't see the logical sense that would make, especially because they've been together for so long. I just think it would be illogical for him to file for divorce, being that he didn't have and doesn't have a prenup in place. Especially being that he doesn't have a prenup in place. I think it would be way more complicated than it needs to be. And then if we look at it from a logical standpoint as well, it's like, who is he going to be looking for? Who's he really going to be with where he'll be happy? Right? Like, we all know the story about his ex-wife and how he was cheating on his ex-wife by messing around with Jada, talking to her and then, you know, divorces her because he's like, oh, I married the wrong person. It was Jada all along. I should have married, right? I mean, the stupidity of the whole thing. So, you know, karma, they're not as, I don't even really necessarily believe in karma, but they are definitely getting, and he is definitely getting what he deserves. Okay. In Jada's defense, she she is married to someone that is incredibly popular, incredibly powerful, incredibly famous. And for some reason, Will chose her. And I say for some reason because Jada's personality is not a personality that likes to be obscured. I know a lot of people call her narcissist. I guess you could call her that if you want. I don't like throwing that word around because I mean, the disorder is actually really brutal. But definitely what I can see is that Jada is not a personality type that likes to be obscured. Like, and for someone as rich, famous, and huge as Will is, especially in the public eye, as adored as he was, especially in the public eye, I mean, that not only takes someone that is okay taking the back seat, but it also takes someone that's incredibly smart and um um you know, someone that's just okay with being the shadow, because Will overshadows everything. Everything that he's done overshadows everything and everyone. It's very overwhelming. So it just would take a very strong person to be able to just sit back and be okay with that. Even if you would have married someone that wasn't necessarily Jada's um personality type, I still think he would have had a hard time, because humans by nature want to be able to feel like they have accomplished something, they're fulfilled in some way. And you know, that would be hard to do if you're married to Will Smith. Okay. And I also think the reason she's so hated is because she's married to Will Smith, specifically because she's married to Will Smith. I don't think if she were married to anyone else, this would not be as big of a story. She could have done the exact same actions and things, and, you know, most of us probably wouldn't care enough to even dislike her on that level. So I think that because she's married to such a huge celebrity, this is definitely taking a toll on her image 10 times, 100 times more, because especially because Willis is and was so adored by the general public, right? He spent so many years building this persona. You know, the public is definitely going to turn on you for sure, especially when you're, you know, saying crazy things in interviews and not being nice in public, you know. So anyway,
Hoda that she made a promise that she and Will would work through all issues no matter what.
I made a promise that there will never be a reason for us to get a divorce. We will work through whatever. And I just haven't been able to break that promise.
But you still live separately.
We live separately.
Now, if you're confused how living separately and having entanglements with other people counts as working through your marriage issues, you're not the only one. Because none of this makes any sense. Will and Jada are already living like a divorced couple. They've both been involved with other...
I think it makes perfect sense, because she's lying. She's not there because she, you know, that's a very cunning, Jada is a very cunning individual. Very cunning female, right? Like, she's not there because she made some stupid promise. That's just what she tells us, and that's what she tells Will and her kiddos. But that's not why she's really there. She's there porque le conviene, because that's the most convenient thing for her to do. That's why she's there. You know, she's there because she can further build wealth, further build a name for herself, and she's disliked Will for so long that now she has an outlet, right? She can start telling people about how she perceives the relationship. She can finally feel like she has a voice, so and she's pretty secure because she didn't sign no prenup. So if he wants to divorce her, he loses. He's going to be the one that loses. So, Jada is a very cunning person. She ain't there because she made some stupid promise. Girl, bye. That is not why that woman is there. That woman is there because she doesn't want to. She's first of all, she probably doesn't want to be the bad person, the one that ends up filing for divorce. And not because of us, not because of the public necessarily. I think mostly because of the people that she is close with. So her kids and all that, she doesn't want to be the one to like. She doesn't want to be the one to say, oh, I'm the one that filed for divorce, right? She doesn't want to look like she was the one that didn't uphold her end of the bargain. Not because she had made a promise to Will, but because she's, in my opinion, more concerned with what the appearance of that would be for her. And so I think she's at a point now, where she's like, I might as well just say whatever I want, do whatever I want, and I still win. Even if he files for divorce, I still win, and I don't have to file for divorce, and I'm still free. I can be even more free now because now the public knows that we've been separated for all these years, so I can be even more of a free person. And I'm sure that she sold this idea to Will before ever doing it. So it's not something that seems to me that would cause direct conflict between their dynamic. Because I know that she sold this already to Will. And she's not just like popping out one day and doing it. And the way that I think she probably went about selling it is she probably said something like, well, I think it's time. I think it's time to like let all of that out. Let all that anger and the feelings and the emotions out and let the public know. We didn't know how to tell them this whole time. We can really use this to our advantage to let the public know the truth. The stupidity, that's how she thinks, right? So that's probably how she went about selling it to her closer inner circle before ever releasing any of this stuff out. She probably said something too like, yeah, if because we're not getting a divorce, we're staying together, and it's good for cleansing, and I've held you down all these years, and I think it'll be good for me to be able to get my side out, my story out. Look at all the things they're saying about me. That's probably how she did it, and probably fussed and fussed about it, and got everyone to co-sign on the idea. Okay. So it ain't some stupid promise. It's because she's very, I mean, despite people not liking her, she's fairly smart and very cunning, right? She knows how to get what she wants. Period. You can see that. That's very, very, I got my little blanket, you guys. That's very, very obvious. That's clear. And, she's just very, and unfortunately, she's, very manipulative. So.
People since their separation, and all their children are adults. So what's the point of staying legally married? Well, it turns out that the reason could be money. See, a lot, if not most, Hollywood marriages are business arrangements, and it looks like Will and Jada's situation is no different.
Did you guys hear that? A lot, if not most, Hollywood marriages are business arrangements. Business arrangements. Because that's how rich people do it. The rich people that you're seeing that are getting divorced and that's because they're so rich, they don't really necessarily have to even care about a business arrangement, and they chose not to care about a business arrangement, and so they're getting divorced left, right, center. But most rich people, and this is the same, similar to what I said in my video that talks about what is marriage. Most rich people don't get married for love. They get married because it's a business arrangement, and throughout history, that's what marriage was always and is meant for. People that don't get married, or people that get married for the stupidity of love, oh, I have feelings for them, those are poor to middle class individuals, usually poor individuals, because even middle class individuals will at least take a look at other factors as opposed to going purely on the emotion, right? So, you know, it's important to remember, and I'll continue to say this over and over and over in my videos, love is not a real thing. That's not a real thing, right? This concept of love, it's exactly that. It's more of an illusion. It's an illusion. It's seduction. That's what it is. Love is a seduction. It's an illusion. So it seduces you, but it's not real. It's not real. It's not like a real concept. It's not a concrete concept. Okay? So even historically, and if you look at history and learn about history, you see that the whole reason marriage was put in place was so rich people could combine their wealth. Marriage started with rich people, and then poor people took that and converted in for themselves into a love thing. But rich people didn't stop doing what they do. They're looking at resources and seeing how can I benefit the most from these resources. Like Will Smith was the bigger star, and he wanted Jada, right? And why, you know, why would he want Jada even though he was a bigger star than her? Well, Will is a guy, he's a man, right? So things like, okay, she was already doing movies, so as far as having a name and a background, check mark, right? As far as being attracted to her, check mark, right? As far as, you know, is she going to be able to have my kids? Because I bet you if she wasn't able to have kids, I don't think Will would have stayed with her, you know? And he just, you know, despite him saying, oh, I love her so much, right? I don't know that he would have stayed necessarily. But, you know, so they look at everything, and it's more to combine wealth than anything else. So they, you know, rich people will also look at, okay, if I were to get with this person, how would it benefit me in the sense of helping me build my wealth? So they analyze all of these things, and that's how they make their choice. And it's usually a business arrangement. In this case, I don't even think it was that good of a business arrangement because, you know, there's no prenup. Apparently, if that's true, I don't really think it was a very good business arrangement, and I wouldn't be surprised if Jada has something to do with there not being a prenup. But at the same time, Will is a grown man, so I don't feel sorry for him. He's making his choices, and he's all right. I don't know why people try to defend him and feel sorry for him. He's fine. You know, that's his choice to make. He has his life to live, and he has a right to live it however he wants to live it.
But unlike most Hollywood couples, Jada and Will never signed a prenup. And in her recent interview with Parade Friday, Jada again claimed the reason why they didn't want a prenup is because they believe that divorce is not an option. No matter what, we're going to figure it out, and that's why we don't need a prenup, Jada said, because I'm making a promise that divorce won't be necessary, that we will figure this out. But this whole idea that divorce is worse than a bad marriage might have something to do with Will's guilt over his first marriage. See, in his 2021 self-titled memoir, Will talked about how he was a terrible husband to his first wife, Cherie Zampino, and he also admitted that he was the reason his first marriage ended. Divorce was the worst thing in my adult life, Will said. Divorce was the ultimate failure for me. I've heard a lot in my adult life, but I don't think anything touches the failure of getting divorced from my 2-year-old son's mother. So it sounds like Will carries a lot of guilt from the way he treated Cherie, especially when you take into account that he admitted he called Jada and asked.
Yeah, so I don't really agree with that. I don't think he carries guilt from the way he treated her. I think the guilt is there. I don't think there's guilt, actually. I don't think that's what he feels from hearing his words. What that tells me is that what he's really feeling is a sense of, like he said, failure, not guilt. Those are two different feelings. So I think, everyone calls Jada a narcissist. I think, what the public doesn't want to admit to themselves is that, well, if we're gonna sit here and say anyone's a narcissist, they both are. Will, because of his upbringing and things that have happened, his experiences, he can't stand failure. So it doesn't really have anything to do with guilt over how he treated his ex-wife. I really don't think he cares about that. He might act like he does. He might try to lie to himself and say that he does, but I really don't think it has anything to do with that. I think that what it is and why it hit him so hard is literally because he feels like he failed at something. He feels like he chose to do something and then ended up failing. Okay. That's the real root and cause of it. And I'm willing to bet that has a lot to do with why he's not going to file for divorce. And I think those are really the two main reasons, is the fact that he's not going to fail again. He can't take it. He's like, no thanks. And he's talked about this several times. So I'm surprised that people still aren't catching on to that. And they keep saying things like, oh, he just felt so bad for how he treated her. He didn't feel bad for how he treated her. He didn't want to be with her anymore. He said that even. So he didn't feel bad for how he treated her. What he felt bad about was the fact that now he has to walk around feeling like he wasn't good enough and he was a failure because he didn't accomplish this goal of staying married, right? That's what it is. So they both have a lot of narcissistic tendencies for one reason or the other, primarily from what I know, their upbringing, but Will especially. That's why he's not letting the lady go, in my opinion, is just because he can't stand the thought of losing. And then also, it's almost like he wants to keep her there. Whether or not she wants to be there is kind of irrelevant to him. So he just maybe chooses not to see it or chooses not to admit it. But at the very least, if she's married, she can't go and marry someone else. But, yeah, I don't feel bad for Will at all. I mean, as a grown man, these are grown people. So I really don't really be understanding people that say, why she treat Will like that? Da, 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 da. Like, Will is super old. Like, he could stand up for himself. I mean, if he wanted to divorce her, he would. Like, what's your issue? I don't know. I still think that Jada is very manipulative and she's super weird and kind of cringe with the way that she talks and thinks. But to me, they are both whatever,
Her out the same day he signed the divorce papers with Cherie. But see, it was Cherie who ended up filing for divorce first because she realized Will wanted Jada. Throughout his marriage with Cherie, Will stayed in touch with Jada, and he recalled how after one of their conversations, he realized he picked the wrong woman. I had to get up from dinner when I had a realization that I wasn't with the person I was supposed to be with, Will said. I was sitting in a stall and I was crying and laughing uncontrollably, and I knew Jada was the woman I was supposed to be with, but I was never getting divorced. I went back out, sat down with Cherie, and started going back on with my life.
I don't think, I think it doesn't matter who he would have chosen to be with. Will just, I don't think he can be happy because I don't think that he has been able to find that happiness within himself. So it doesn't matter if it's Jada or anyone else. I think he would still have said the same thing. I think it just so happened to be Jada, and he just so happened to be attracted to her, and she just so happened to be a good talker and flirter or whatever she was doing, saying to him. But I think it could have been anyone, and he would have said the same thing. And even if he divorced Jada, I think I just don't see him ever finding that happiness with or without Jada or anyone else in his life, which is unfortunate. But I think that because, he has this undying struggle with failure. Okay. And that's a barrier that if he can't break, he can't get to any type of happiness that's not dependent on external factors. And the problem with the happiness being dependent on external factors is that those don't typically stick around or last, and they don't penetrate as deep. So you can only get so much happiness, you can only get a limited amount of happiness from external factors, right? So
however, Cherie immediately knew what she had to do and served Will divorce papers. But see, Will initially refused to go along with it until Cherie told him, "So you're gonna make somebody stay with you who doesn't love you?" That was the one that got me, Will said. Well, fans are now speculating that Jada is the one who wants a divorce. However, she wants Will to file first because that way she'd get half his money. Will, on the other hand, doesn't want another failure and knows it's cheaper to keep her. Take a look at this moment from Red Table Talk where Jada said this is the reason Will never filed for divorce. The way she said it so.
Yeah, it's cheaper to keep her, exactly. And then he doesn't have to deal with the word failure or the fact that he failed. And he still sleeps around with other women and stuff like that. And also, if he were to divorce her, what would be the purpose? He would lose half of his money for no reason. Who is he gonna go marry after that and be happy with? No one. Not because Jada is that good, but just because, again, there's only a certain level, there's only a certain amount of happiness you can get externally. So if he were to just go find someone else, the whole thing would just end up happening all over again. So unless he finds someone while still married to Jada that he wants to marry, which at his age I doubt he will do that, he's just gonna stay right there because it costs less and it's less stressful, and it's not really worth the energy that it would require to go through a divorce, the breakup of the corporation.
Quickly sounded like this is something they previously discussed. However, Will tried to play it off as a joke and claimed he never filed for divorce because Jada is one of a kind.
You know why I never got divorced?
It's cheaper to keep me.
No.
Can't believe it. Oh my goodness.
Because I've never met anybody like you, and I knew if I wasn't with you, I'd be searching in vain for the rest of my life.
Aw, Willard. See, sometimes he says the right thing.
The truth.
However, Jada was clearly never happy being married to Will, and fans are speculating that all these interviews that she's been doing are part of her plan to humiliate Will. And
I agree with the fact that she does not want to be with that dude. I don't think she ever really did. I think she just did it because he was famous at the time, had money, and from what I hear, she got pregnant. She was like, okay, fine. But yeah, and I think she's mad at his success too. So I do agree with people that say that. I think that she is jealous. She is mad at his success, and she kind of resents him for all of his success and probably blames him to a certain degree for standing in the way of her success. Like, so again, that personality type that she has does not strike me as one that enjoys being in the shadows. And well, if you're married to Will Smith, there's nowhere else that you could possibly be but in the shadows. There's just nowhere else that you could be. And so yeah, she sounds fairly resentful about that. And I don't think she likes him at all, actually. I think she gets on his nerves. You could tell by her facial expressions, even when he said that. And then she was like, well, sometimes you say the right things, right? So she's like really mean to him. And I think that's coming from a place of really resenting the guy, you know?
Push him to the point where he'd have no choice but to divorce her. One fan said, my theory is Jada is broke if she ain't married to Will. Red Table Talk is gone, and he is 4 times her net worth. He won't divorce her because it's the only way to keep her from getting his money, so now she's going to lengths to embarrass him and force him into the divorce. And another fan added, no prenup means Jada has to work twice as hard to get Will to divorce her, LOL. Jada now has an estimated net worth of $50 million, while Will's net worth is said to be around $350 million. And
yeah, I wouldn't just go based off of networks. I think she would be fine financially. There's no way. There's no way you're with someone that rich and you've had a few projects here and there. Even if they canceled her Red Talk table, probably made a good amount of money. So you've had projects here and there. Where did all that money go? There's no way. I think she would be set up financially. She would be fine if she makes the right financial decisions. So on Jada's end, I don't think that's what it is. I just think that Jada's at a point where she doesn't care and she wants the emotional release of speaking up, and she wants to be in the limelight. Because till now, Will has been the main one and the only one in the limelight. I really think that's what it's about. And when I say she doesn't care, I mean, I just think she doesn't care whether or not he divorces her. I think she's confident that he won't, but at the same time doesn't really care whether or not he does. Because even if he does, she wins. If he doesn't, she wins. So she's used this whole slap thing. Or maybe they even, because like I said, you never know if they've staged the whole thing for the public. But either way, this whole thing is being used for those means.
At this point, Jada's main source of income and fame is sharing too much information about her relationship and family. As for Will, his career did suffer a temporary setback after the Oscars slap. However, he's now back on track, and according to his IMDb page, he's got 5 big-budget productions in the making, including sequels to Bad Boys and I Am Legend. So basically, it sounds like Jada really wants Will to divorce her. However, he doesn't want to file the papers for 2 main reasons. He'd lose half his money, and plus, he clearly has this idea that divorce is somehow a personal and moral failure. And Will has now broken his silence on Jada's upcoming memoir and seemingly confirmed that he's never going to divorce her. In an email sent to the New York Times, Will said reading Jada's book was a wake-up call and made him understand how Jada had lived a life more on the edge than he'd realized, and she is more resilient, clever, and compassionate than he'd understood. When you've been with someone for more than half of your life, a sort of emotional blindness sets in, Will wrote, and you can all too easily lose your sensitivity to their hidden nuances and subtle beauties. Also, during Jada's recent appearance on the On Purpose with Jay Shetty podcast, Jay read a...
Okay, so Will, again, is taking the good guy approach, which is how, playing that role of the good guy. I don't know. I don't buy it because these people are just too rich, y'all. Like, neither of them are the good guy. They probably both suck. I'm kidding. They're both nuts, right? Like, so it really doesn't matter if they stay together or not. But what is working to their advantage is all of the media attention, the fact that everyone else cares so much. And so, it does look like they're taking full advantage of that, which as they should, right? Because she's promoting her book everywhere she goes, reckoning the cash. But again, like I said at the beginning of the video, she didn't just pop out and do this. She's already gotten them to subscribe to this idea probably a long time ago. Like not even months. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this has been in the works for over a year, maybe even 2, because that's how rich people operate. That's what they do. So this is not something that's going to cause a divorce between them. I mean, much like none of the other stuff would cause a divorce between them. I think that Jada sleeping with her son's friend, that definitely caught them by surprise. I believe that one to be a real story for sure. I believe that they were like, did he just like tell everyone that this was happening? But anyway, but yeah, like, so there's no reason for him to divorce, so he's not going to. And I don't think Jada cares either way, because she's set either way. Like, you guys want to believe that she's dumb, but this is not a dumb person. She married Will Smith. You know, like, she was able to bag Will Smith with no prenup when he was at, like, it's not like he was some nobody at the time. He had already started building and already had a little bit of something wealth wise. So that's not a dumb person. This is someone that was involved with Tupac, and so his fame would always inevitably rub off on her. She knows that. Okay, she's very strategic, has her own goals in mind, and makes sense that she resents Will, because her role can and would never be able to be anything more than that in the shadows. Because even now, the only way she's able to sell these books is by talking about Will and being with him. So,
letter that Will wrote for Jada.
I also have a letter from Will. You are one of one, a rare blend of power and delicate sensitivity. I know it wasn't easy to excavate the depths in that way. I applaud and honor you. If I had read this book 30 years ago, I definitely would have hugged you more.
Yeah, it sounds like Will's never signing the divorce papers. However, fans are saying this whole situation is so bizarre because Jada never has anything remotely as sweet as this to say about Will. In fact, almost everything she shared about him in public was negative. One fan said, no, his response just makes the whole thing sadder and weirder. And another person wrote, I can't be the only one who thinks these two deserve each other. I feel like they're perfectly willing to do emotional damage to their children and each other as long as they make money and stay relevant.
Yeah, so, you know, regular people just can't understand. Like, you guys just can't understand how things work and how this works. I think, you know, and then regular people are always trying to tell other people and rich people how to take care of their kids, what to do with their kids, what to do with their lives. And so, you know, Will and Jada are, I mean, they're doing is capitalizing off of that. That's it. And as they should, you know, because then they can make even more money. And everyone that keeps, because I used to do that too when I was younger, and I used to say, why wouldn't he just divorce her and this and that? But as I get more experience, especially in life, I'm thinking, oh, okay, you know, and I stopped saying those things because it's a level that we are not purview to. So I'm not going to waste my emotional energy on a level that I can't even smell. Right? Like, what they're doing here, Will and Jada, both of them, because, you know, again, they've been signed off on this plan forever ago, and we're just now hearing about it. So there's no divorce that's going to happen because of this. This is obviously on purpose, obviously strategic marketing. They'll be fine. And if they were to get a divorce, it won't be because of this. That's for sure. So, yeah, so, saying, oh, I can't believe Will, or no, he did this, or that letter didn't even sound, that letter sounds like something that was already written and premeditated like a while ago. It didn't even sound like something that he would have written recently. So, like telling Will to divorce her and da 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 da. What a waste of time to be trying to tell these rich people what to do, when the truth and the reality of what's actually happening is that they're using us. We think we're the ones that are commenting and da 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 da. No. They're the ones manipulating the whole situation, and we're dancing to those tunes. And they know what tunes we'll dance to, so they're doing is playing those tunes so we can dance. That's just what I think.
But what do you think is the real reason Will won't file for divorce from Jada?
Right. So, I think there's a plethora of reasons why he won't file for divorce. It doesn't make sense on really any level because it's been too many years. They've been together for too long. So really, from a financial standpoint, it doesn't make sense. It's not logical. It's illogical to do it. From an age standpoint, it's illogical to do it. Will can get anyone he wants. He knows that. So what's the point? What would the point for him be? To start over at this age, and then from a logical standpoint, as far as his experiences and the way he views failure, it doesn't make sense. So it doesn't make sense on any level for him. And it doesn't really make sense on any level for her, but it actually makes more sense for her because she would be the one winning the most if he were to do that. And so he probably knows that. She would win the most because there's no prenup there. Although that could get tied up because it would probably take years to figure everything out. But there's no prenup there, so she knows that she's positioned fairly well. She has 2 kids for the guy, right? So if he's not giving her money and he's giving the kids money, well, there you go. She can live with one of the kids, who knows? But and how much wealth you can amass in 20 something years. They've been together 20 something years. And does this woman look like someone that's not gonna be saving every single penny of her money? What do you think she's using that for? Probably nothing. Probably nothing, because Will probably pays for everything. So it's not anything that's within our comprehension. I just think that the main point is they're doing it because they can. The incident happened, whether it's real or not, who knows? But it happened, and now they're capitalizing off of it. That's it. It's very simple. They don't really care about what the public has to say. They don't care about what you're saying. Oh, let's divorce this and that, because they've been on the same page about what would happen when it comes to this. All right. And so the fact that we're talking about it means it's working, regardless of whether it's positive or negative. What they're doing is working for the both of them, because she keeps promoting her little book everywhere she goes, garnering more attention, garnering more emotional responses from people. And then Will gets to put this good guy front on continuously, and gets to not have to worry about, oh, is she gonna try to divorce me, or blah 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 blah. Am I gonna have to lose half my money, blah 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 blah, whatever. And so it doesn't really affect them. Actually, it doesn't really do anything at the end of the day, because Will is too big of a star, and he wants to stay for several reasons, and she also feels that way, because if they're already living separately, then who cares? Like, who are you going to marry that's a bigger deal than Will Smith? You know what I mean? So why even bother? It's like Jay-Z and Beyonce. They're doing the same thing because they've built a conglomerate. So would it make sense? Like, who are you going to get with, you know, and rich people, again, don't do things for love. It's not like a real thing. So a lot of the rich people, you know, that you see that are doing that, it's because it's a business arrangement before anything else. And they use their logic before anything else. Does it make sense? Usually it doesn't, especially if we have several years invested. If this was like 1 or 2 years in, that's different. But if there's like several, like 10, 20 years invested, that makes no sense. Where are you going? Doesn't make any sense. But anyways, you guys let me know your thoughts. I would go over but you said that, like, you guys check out this interview as well, from the Diary of a CEO. It was a really good one because he asked a lot of good questions, and he was able to really navigate through that conversation. There was a point in time where he gave her a hug, and it was so sweet. I was like, oh, he gave her a hug, so cute. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me. Let me know what your thoughts are. Like the video for the YouTube algorithm and comment below. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm wrong, right? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Why do you think these two are still together? Like, why are they still together? So let me know what your thoughts are, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Bye.